It's 2030. You're 22, starting a tech job after a 6-month boot camp and a lot of YouTube tutorials. Meanwhile, your millennial sister just made her final student loan payment for a degree in print journalism. Across town, one friend is in VR business school, the other is launching a skincare line on TikTok, and somewhere a college professor is still wondering why no one shows up for their 8 a.m. lecture. So, be honest. Will college still matter in 2030? Or has Gen Z hit unfollow on the traditional degree? Subscribe to GENSHIFT, where we ask the real questions and don't charge $100 in tuition for the answers. Rising cost versus value decline. A new graduate contemplates the value of her college degree in a changing world. For decades, a college diploma was sold as the golden ticket to success. Millennials grew up hearing that a bachelor's degree would guarantee a good job and higher wages, and for a while, that seemed true. From 1980 until about 2010, the earnings gap, the college wage premium, between college grads and high school grads kept growing. But fast forward to today, that wage premium has flattened out. At the same time, college has become dramatically more expensive. Over the past 2 decades, tuition and fees in the US jumped 32% to 45%, even after accounting for inflation. Between 1980 and 2020, the average price of tuition, fees, and room and board for an undergraduate degree skyrocketed 169%. It's no wonder student loan debt has ballooned to nearly $2 trillion nationwide, with millennial graduates particularly hard hit. 58% of millennials surveyed carried student loans into their careers. What about Gen Z? Having watched older siblings and parents struggle with debt, Gen Z is openly questioning the return on investment of college. Surveys show a sharp decline in perceived value. Only about 33% of current students now say college is worth the cost, and younger students are the most skeptical. Just 30% of Gen Z students think college is worth it, compared to 46% of millennials. In a recent poll, 51% of Gen Z graduates even said their degree was a waste of money. A stunning contrast to only 20% of baby boomers who felt that way. Tuition is up, wages are stagnant, and degrees are everywhere. As one sociologist noted, college has become so common that it no longer guarantees a good job. There simply aren't enough high-skilled jobs for every degree holder. The result? Many Gen Z youth see the traditional college path as a shaky deal, a pricey 4-year journey that might saddle them with debt without delivering the promised payoff. Alternative paths to careers. Facing this rising cost and uncertain payoff, Gen Z is charting alternative paths to adulthood that don't involve the classic 4-year college route. For one, vocational and technical programs are seeing renewed interest. The share of students enrolled in 2-year colleges for vocational training, like trades, IT, or healthcare tech programs, grew from 15% in 2019 to nearly 20% in 2024. Many Gen Zers are eyeing careers as electricians, radiation technicians, or wind turbine mechanics, jobs that pay well and don't require a bachelor's degree. In fact, 2 of America's fastest-growing jobs are wind turbine technicians and solar panel installers, roles one can train for without a traditional degree. These blue-collar and technical fields, once stigmatized as lesser-than white-collar office jobs, now look like smart, stable options in an era when even entry-level office jobs are being disrupted by AI and automation. As one report noted, some Gen Z folks see skilled trades as an oasis, reliable work that's in demand and robot-proof. Then there's the boom in boot camps and online certificates. Why spend 4 years in college when a 12-week coding boot camp or a Google Career certificate might land you a job? In recent years, tens of thousands have graduated from coding boot camps annually, over 65,000 in 2023, up 12% from the year before. Major companies themselves are creating short course credentials. Google, for example, launched an online certificate program in IT support and data analytics, and it even treats those certificates as equivalent to a 4-year degree when hiring for entry-level positions. The result? The percentage of Google job postings requiring a bachelor's degree fell from 93% to 77% between 2017 and 2021. We're seeing similar trends with tech giants and startups alike embracing self-taught programmers, UX designers who learned via online courses, and marketers who built skills through internships or freelancing. Gen Z is taking note that real-world skills can matter more than a framed diploma on the wall. And let's not forget the entrepreneurial and creative roots. Growing up with YouTube and TikTok, many Gen Zers have seen influencers, coders, and young entrepreneurs build careers without degrees, sometimes straight out of high school. Take the story of Sadie Shaw, 22. She enrolled in college because it's what everyone in her family did, but left after 2 months to run a fitness coaching business on TikTok and manage a vintage clothing shop. "It has been amazing for me not to be in debt," she says, noting how many friends are $100,000 underwater in student loans for jobs paying $60 a year. Whether it's starting a small business, honing a craft, or turning a social media hobby into a job, Gen Z is proving that there's more than one way to launch a career, and that sometimes learning on the job and avoiding debt beats sitting in a lecture hall. Employer perspective shift. It's not just students rethinking college. Employers are increasingly questioning the requirement of a degree for new hires. For generations, a bachelor's degree was a default filter for good jobs. Millennials remember scanning job listings where a degree was mandatory for even entry-level office roles. But today, many companies have started dropping that filter and adopting skills-based hiring instead. A recent survey found that 45% of U.S. employers eliminated degree requirements for certain roles in just the past year. And overall, the share of job postings on Indeed.com that don't list any education requirement has ticked up to 52% as of early 2024, up from 49% in 2019. In other words, more than half of job listings are open to candidates regardless of formal education. This is a sea change in hiring. Why the shift? One big reason is the talent shortage in many industries. Companies don't want to miss out on skilled candidates who happened not to go to college. There are over 70 million American workers who gained skills through alternative routes: community college, boot camps, military service, on-the-job training, rather than a 4-year college. Firms want access to that talent pool. Between 2017 and 2019, employers across various sectors actually cut degree requirements for 46% of middle-skill and 31% of high-skill positions, especially in fields like finance, tech, and engineering. And these degree reset trends are expected to continue. One analysis predicted that dropping degree barriers could open up 1.4 million jobs to non-degree holders in the next 5 years. Big-name companies are leading by example. IBM's CEO famously coined the term "new-collar jobs" for roles that focus on skills instead of diplomas. By 2021, IBM had removed bachelor's degree requirements for over half of its U.S. job openings, hiring software developers, cybersecurity analysts, and techs based on certifications and practical experience. Other major employers like Google, Bank of America, Dell, and Walmart have similarly dropped degree requirements for many positions. Even state governments are on board. At least 16 states, including Maryland, Virginia, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, no longer require a 4-year degree for most state government jobs, aiming to improve hiring and diversity. The message from employers is clear. Show us what you can do, not just where you studied. This represents a fundamental shift in how success is defined in the job market, and it further erodes the once ironclad link between a college degree and a good career. Changing cultural values. Beyond economics and hiring trends, the cultural aura around college is changing, especially for Gen Z. For many millennials, college was almost a given, a cultural rite of passage and a status symbol. They grew up with movies and advice that painted the college years as the best time of your life, and a degree as the ticket to the middle class. In 1980, only about 24% of young adults held a bachelor's degree. By 2021, it was 38%, reflecting how strongly millennials were encouraged to enroll. Not going to college often carried a stigma for that generation. Gen Z, however, is coming of age in a different atmosphere. The idea that college is for everyone is no longer taken for granted. In fact, one survey in late 2023 found only 39% of Gen Z say that advancing education is important to them. And 46% don't think college is worth the cost. That's a major attitude shift. We see it in personal stories and social attitudes. Dropping out or skipping college isn't the taboo it once was. It can even be seen as pragmatic or bold. On TikTok and YouTube, young creators openly debate whether college is a scam or a necessity, racking up millions of views in the process. Memes and debates about the useless degree or crippling student debt resonate with Gen Z audiences in a way that surprises many millennials. There's a growing sentiment of college can be valuable, but it isn't the only way, and it isn't for everyone. The stigma is fading. It's increasingly acceptable to choose trade school, start a business, or pursue art instead of attending a four-year university. That said, this cultural shift is nuanced. Gen Z still values education, but they tend to separate the concept of learning from the institution of college. Many Gen Zers pursue knowledge through YouTube tutorials, online courses, or mentors. They also recognize that some careers, doctors, engineers, researchers, still require degrees and extensive schooling. And interestingly, even some Gen Z who question the financial ROI of college acknowledge there's intangible value in the college experience. The campus social life, networking, and personal growth. Those are things older generations often cherish about their college years. In a recent interview, one recent grad said his degree was worth it mainly for the purpose of being at university, highlighting how the experience and mindset he gained mattered more than the technical training. So, while Gen Z might be cynical about paying steep tuition for a diploma, they haven't completely written off the idea that learning and community matter. The cultural narrative is simply broadening. Success might mean getting the degree, or it might mean forging your own path. And both are okay. The future of college itself. So, what will college even look like by 2030? Will it still matter at all? The short answer: college isn't disappearing, but it is reinventing itself. If we peer into the future, we can already see changes underway. For one, colleges are facing a demographic and demand crunch. Over the past decade, college enrollment in the US has dropped by nearly 2 million students. In 2023, total enrollment was around 17 million, down 10% from a decade prior. And this trend may accelerate. Projections suggest that by 2030, enrollment could sink to just about 15 million students. That means hundreds of campuses will be competing for fewer students. We're likely to see some smaller colleges shutter or merge, and others radically innovate to survive. Imagine more universities offering online degrees to reach students anywhere. More part-time and flexible programs for those who want to work and study, and curricula that evolve faster to match job market needs. The college of 2030 might be very different from the college of 2010. We could see 3-year accelerated degrees, or more widespread credential programs where you stack short certificates that together equal a degree. Online learning, supercharged by the remote education experiments of the pandemic, will be fully mainstream. It's possible that attending virtual lectures or engaging in VR-based lab simulations will be a normal part of the college experience. Traditional universities might partner with tech companies to offer co-branded programs. Imagine earning half your credits from a college and half from a Google or IBM training center. And for fields that change quickly, expect a move toward lifelong learning models. Instead of front-loading 4 years of education at age 18 to 22, people may frequently return to school, physically or online, in their 30s, 40s, and beyond for upskilling. In fact, millennials are already familiar with this need to retrain, and Gen Z will likely normalize continuing education throughout one's career. Crucially, the value proposition of college is likely to shift. By 2030, a college degree will still matter for some things. It will remain a requirement for certain professions and a mark of comprehensive training, but will place more emphasis on what and how you learned, not just where you learned it. Employers might care less about the name of your alma mater and more about your portfolio of projects, your internships, or the specific skills you acquired, whether via college, boot camp, or self-study. In other words, college will matter, but it won't matter in isolation. It will be one part of a broader personal education journey. Conclusion. As we look toward 2030, the meaning of college is evolving. For Gen Z, higher education is no longer a one-size-fits-all default. It's a choice to be weighed against other viable options. The college path now competes with pathways that were barely imaginable a generation ago. Will college still matter? Yes, but differently. A college education will still offer value in 2030, especially in terms of advanced knowledge, critical thinking, and professional networks. But it will share the stage with alternative credentials, on-the-job learning, and entrepreneurial ventures. The class of 2030 might earn degrees in more flexible ways or bypass the degree and still thrive. And society, slowly but surely, is adjusting its lens, judging individuals not merely by diplomas, but by skills, creativity, and adaptability. In the end, higher education is about learning and growth, and that will always matter. The institution of college is simply being reinvented to fit a new era. For Gen Z and the generations to follow, the challenge and opportunity will be to define education on their own terms. Whether through college or another route, the goal is the same: to build a fulfilling career and a meaningful life. And that idea of education, the empowerment that comes from learning, will absolutely matter in 2030 and beyond. If this video got you thinking, please share it and smash that subscribe button for more smart explorations with GenShift. Until next time, keep learning and stay curious.